Mel and I love watching a good film. People's viewing tastes differ, I know, but we enjoy a good thriller. However, there are times where we watch a film, sometimes for 2 hours, only to be let down right at the end by a weird final few minutes. We want all the loose ends to be tied up, to have all the questions answered, and yet the ending of a good film can leave us with more questions than answers. Often, the most gripping part of a film happens in the darkness, a moment of eerie shadows when everything is hushed. For some reason, the darkness makes things all the more scary. Notice that our reading began when the disciples, along with Jesus, had just come by boat across the Sea of Galilee. At the point they were crossing and where they arrived to, it would have been about a 5-mile journey. They'd set out in the evening, so the crossing was a nighttime one. When they arrived at their destination, it is likely that it was still almost dark. Along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, there are limestone caves that were used as burial tombs. Can you imagine the creepiness as Jesus and the disciples got out of that boat with the darkness still in the sky, and they arrived at basically what was a graveyard, a cemetery? What happened next had all the suspense and all the tension of a good thriller. We are told that this man was possessed. He lived in amongst those limestone caves. His home was the cemetery. And the fact that he kept breaking the chains shows that they were meant to control him, but he was a violent individual. Day and night he wandered among the burial caves. The Bible says he howled and he cut himself with sharp stones. Most people avoided him. Most people kept their distance because life had thrown this man into a desperate situation, and nobody, not anybody, was able to help him. However, Jesus is in the business of transforming lives, and this man was no different. The cemetery was a place of death, of disaster, and despair. But this day, Jesus transformed it into a place of life and hope and blessing. When Jesus asked the man's name, the man replied that his name was Legion. A legion was an army of between 3,000 and 6,000 soldiers. Jesus was not simply dealing with one evil spirit. He was dealing with a whole army that was destroying this man's life. How hard is it for Jesus to transform a person's life? Even when a person seems to be beyond all help. Well, he did it for Saul, the murderer. He did it for Lazarus, the dead man. He did it for Thomas, the doubter. He even did it for Zacchaeus, the corrupt tax collector. Most of us would consider such people to be beyond God's help. Indeed, the people around those individuals saw them as gone too far away from God to request his help. But Jesus showed that God is in the very business of changing what looks like the end into opportunities for his grace to be at work. Jesus valued this man as he valued everybody for what they could become. You know, whether we believe in demon possession or not, this man believed in it. The demons were terribly real to him. Listen to the transformation in this man once Jesus had got to work. The Bible simply says he was sitting there fully clothed and perfectly sane. When was the last time this man could remember a time like that? Jesus had dealt with all that life had thrown at him, and he changed him completely. Friends, don't doubt that Jesus can do the same thing for you and for the people you love today. However, the people living in that area were unsettled by what Jesus had done. Indeed, the transformation that Jesus brought to this one man caused them to ask Jesus to leave. This shows that the people living there preferred the demons and the pigs over Jesus. They had a fear of change. We can become so used to our default setting and prefer its familiarity in our lives rather than receiving the change that the God-man Jesus can bring. These people preferred the familiar demon-possessed man than the restored man. They preferred their income and security that the pigs provided, rather than the hope of a new way of life offered by God's Son. The purpose of the church, whichever church we belong to, is to transform people's lives, to transform communities where we worship and where we serve. Let me point this out though. Seeing people's lives transformed may well cost us. As this encounter shows us, it can be God's way that costs us dearly. Being part of a church which transforms our community may require us to let go of some things that we hold precious. Jesus left as the folk there asked him to, but as he was getting back into the boat to return the 5 miles across the Sea of Galilee, the man who Jesus had given life back to begged him, "Please, can I go with you?" And Jesus' response was to tell him to stay and to tell others what God had done for him. This man was a walking, living testimony of the power of God to transform lives. And everyone was amazed, we're told, at what he told them. So Jesus showed that whatever life throws at you and me, God never wastes an experience. And notice one more thing. Jesus did get back into the boat, as the crowds had asked him to. He sailed back across the Sea of Galilee, and he had gone all that way to change the life of just one individual. He had not converted hundreds. He had not spoken to the masses. He had not provided food for the thousands. He had gone all that way, to all that effort, to transform just one person's life. He will do the same for you and the same for the people you know too. Here in our midst stands the one who has all authority. Will we, like the inhabitants of this town, reject him and send him away? Or will we, like this one man, commit ourselves to him? Because he is the one who can transform the lives of those who come to him. And next week, we're going to continue looking at this theme. We're going to look at how Jesus transformed another person's life, this time the lame man in John chapter 5. And we're going to look for some more ways that God never wastes an experience. And I hope that you will join us next Sunday as we look at that theme. God bless.